A little background. My mom and dad separated when I was 6 and each went their separate ways. Of course, they had joint custody of me, but they both started new families. When I was 9, my mom married a man, let's call him Robert, who already had a daughter, let's call her Kira, who was 2 years older than me. My dad got engaged when I was 8 to a wonderful woman, let's call her Layla, who he married when I was 12. My relationship with Layla is beautiful. She has truly been a mother to me. She basically helped my dad raise me. She takes an interest in my life. She comfort me. She advise me. We have common interests and we do many activities together. She and I recently talked about the possibility of having her legally adopt me as soon as I come of age. Doing so now would be a bit messy legally because of my parents' joint custody, because, for me, she is my real mother and I want it to be official. My relationship with my bio mother, on the other hand, is almost non-existent. Even though I was forced to spend specific days with her, we never managed to bond because she spent all her time giving attention and affection to Kira, who already have her own mother. Even when she tried to involve me in some activity, she always included Kira and we had to do only what Kira liked. At a certain point I started to decline her invitations and often asked if I could avoid going to her on the set days because I was almost always ignored or left aside and I preferred to stay at home with my father and Layla. My father always tried to understand me but he also had to honor the rules set by the judge. When I got more mature he admitted that he was afraid that my mother might make some mean move in court if he agreed to not let me go to her on the appointed days. Yeah, this is something my mother would do. After knowing this, I understood my father's reasons and I absolutely don't want to put him in trouble, so I didn't make such requests anymore and I respected my schedule. Now let's get to the point. In 2 weeks I will finally turn 18. I was lucky because my birthday falls on the days I have to stay with my dad, so he, Layla and I started planning my birthday a month ago. It will be nothing too crazy, just a party with family and friends at my favorite pizza place. A casual night where I just want to have fun with the people I care about and do what I like. The place also has karaoke and I love singing. Of course, after booking and setting everything up we sent out the invitations and this extended to my mother as well. Honestly, I didn't really want her there, but then I thought that this would actually be the last time I was forced to be involved with her because, once I turn 18 I won't be forced to follow the judge's rules anymore. So we sent out the invitations 2 days ago and we already had almost all the answers, so we could organize the precise number to send to the pizza place. The only thing missing was my mother who saw the text and did not respond. I told my father that I would not insist and if she did not respond, then it meant she did not want to come and I was fine with that. I think my father was also a little relieved by the idea, even if he didn't say it openly but I could see it on his face. Anyway, the drama started this afternoon. My mother called me, very angry, accusing me of being childish and that I shouldn't have planned anything without telling her first. This left me a little confused and I reminded her that I always planned all my birthdays with Dad and Layla. Most of the time she didn't even remember, so complaining now was quite hypocritical. This made her even angrier and started attacking me because Kira had been crying ever since I sent the invitation to my mother because she had already planned a whole birthday party for me. And I was really speechless because the relationship between me and Kira is zero. She is the classic spoiled brat who always wants to be the center of attention and my mother has always supported this behavior of hers, making it worse, and clearly she and I have never gotten along. I just didn't understand why the hell Kira wanted to organize a birthday party for me. It didn't make sense. I asked her why she did it and especially why she did it without telling me. I mean, she didn't really think I wouldn't make any plans for my 18th birthday, right? It was ridiculous. My mother said it was supposed to be a surprise, and since I didn't tell her about my plans, she thought I didn't want to do anything for my birthday. And I mean, she could have asked? No? No. But here comes the worst part and, I admit, the one that made me lose my cool. My mother started listing all the things Kira had prepared for my party, maybe to rub in my face what I would have missed, and they were all Kira's favorite activities. Things that I didn't like. She had booked a fish restaurant for launch and I don't eat fish. Not because of some whim but because it make me feel sick. Just smelling fish makes me feel nauseous. I'm not allergic, I had it checked, my body simply rejects it. She also booked an afternoon activity at a ranch near the city where my mother now live where you can ride horses and, well, I don't like it. I have nothing against horses in particular, but the idea of riding one or getting really close to an animal that big scares me. Then she thought about going back to my mom's house for a backyard barbecue for dinner and I just don't want to do that because I don't want to spend more time with my mom than I have to. My mother also said they had already sent out invitations to everyone and at that point I was really speechless but I had to ask her who she had sent them to because my friends, my dad and his family hadn't received anything. It turns out that at the party was mostly invited to Robert's family, my mom's family and Kira's friends. I mean, It was basically a party organized by Kira for herself but under the pretext that it was for my birthday. So, I didn't hold back anymore. I laughed in my mother's face and hung up the phone. It was all too ridiculous to be true, come on. My dad came to me a little while ago, saying that my mom called him mad because I laughed in her face when she told me about the party they had organized for me, and he was very upset about it. He was starting to say that, despite all the feelings I had for my mom, they were trying to do a nice thing for once, but I stopped him right away and explained in details how the party had been organized, a detail that my mom apparently left out with him. His expression changed quickly. He just said, "I'm going to make a phone call," and I've been hearing him yelling at my mother for at least 20 minutes by now. Layla came to me after learning about the situation and said that as much as she could relate to me, I was a little rude to laugh in my mother's face and hang up without explaining. For her, I should have spoken out like an adult despite my feelings and sort things out in a civil and mature way. She wasn't angry, just a bit disappointed about how I acted. As soon as she left, I thought about my actions and maybe I was a little hasty, but I don't think talking to my mom about it would have helped, honestly. But maybe I could have handled it better? I'm starting to think I was a bit of an asshole in that moment. Update, November 29, 2024. Okay, I didn't think my post would get all this attention, Velp. But thank you all for the good wishes and words of comfort. I read all your comments and decided to follow some advice. First of all, I talked to Layla about my reaction to my mother. Layla raised me on the importance of communication and always pushing me to talk about my problems so I could solve them. So I see where her comment about my behavior came from and I understand it. But I also gave her my point of view, telling her that the situation my mother was explaining was too absurd and laughing is the only natural instinct that came to me. While my mother was talking, at some point I thought, is it a joke? Or some sort of bad prank? Is she making this all up? Because her bullshits was absolutely ridiculous. Layla said she understood me, and as many of you have told me, she just wanted me to understand that there will be situations in my life where I can't just laugh and hang up the phone, and she was just worried about my reaction. Anyway, we managed to clear the matter between us and I'm happy. I also talked to my dad about the phone call he had with my mom. Apparently, my mom had an excuse for everything. She said that Kira just wanted to do a nice sisterly gesture on my big day, that she wanted to share her hobby, riding horses, with me, and that she never thought my fish problem was a real problem but just a whim, and the restaurant they had booked had made the best fish around. And that last one is a lie because, when I was little, I threw up a couple of times in front of my mom just because we went somewhere that smelled strongly of fish, so she know very well it's a real issue for me. My dad retorted that nothing they had prepared had been done for me, that Kira had clearly planned the party for herself, and what kind of party was it for me if none of my important people were there? My mother didn't respond to this. She just started ranting that I was ungrateful and spoiled, so my father told her to go to hell and hung up the phone. After hearing this, I decided to follow another piece of advice you gave me and wrote a message to my mother. This time I decided to be mature and wrote the message in the most polite way possible. I apologized for laughing, but what she was saying was too ridiculous, so it was the only possible reaction from my side. I reminded her that she never put any effort into building a relationship with me, that she doesn't know me at all and has never cared about getting to know me, and since the birthday party Kira organized only had things that Kira liked, they could enjoy it together with their family and friends. I also told her that her invitation to my pizza party was withdrawn and she shouldn't bother showing up since she had already made it clear with the last phone call what her priorities were, and now I was going to do it too, and she was absolutely not on my priority list. I already have Layla as a mother and I can't be more happy with her. I concluded by wishing her well with her new family and asked her not to contact me again. She read the message but didn't respond, and I'm fine with that. If she were to respond, I'm sure it would just be more complaints about me being ungrateful and spoiled. Because I know that talking to her is useless, she would not understand or pretend not to understand, but clarifying things once and for all has put an end to our situation. At least on my side I had a sort of closure, and I thank you all for that. I probably would have given up and ended contact with her after my 18th without said anything, but your comments helped me understand that a firm end was necessary. For those who asked how my mom could throw me a surprise party when I wasn't with her, my dad asked her the same question, along with asking her how she could think he wouldn't throw me an 18th birthday party. My dad took it a bit personally, lol, and she said they had planned for Robert to come get me the morning of my birthday, explain the situation to Dad and Layla, and then take me to Mom's house under some pretense. Honestly, I don't know how it would have worked. I would have flat out refused to go to my mother's if it wasn't our set days, no matter what excuse they would have made up, and most of all I would never have left Layla and Dad to go to Mom's on my 18th birthday. It would have been one thing if my mother and I had a good relationship, but that was definitely not the case. In all of this, the only person I don't feel like blaming is Robert. We never had a close relationship, but he was always polite to me when we lived under the same roof. He even cleared out his study so I could have a permanent room in his house when I went to my mother's. We didn't develop any stepdaughter-stepfather bond, but he always tried to be kind to me, so I don't blame him for any of this. It's likely that he really thinks the party is for me. We don't know each other well enough for him to know my tastes unless my mother told him, which I highly doubt she did. Luckily, I didn't leave anything of mine at my mother's house either. All my things are here at my father's house permanently. Usually, I would pack my suitcase when I went to my mother's with the things I needed for those days and then bring them back when I went back to my father's. I never felt safe leaving anything to her because Robert's family and Kira's friends came over often and I didn't want to leave anything of mine out in the open to strangers. Well, that's it for now. I hope my mom respects my wish to go no contact and doesn't bother me anymore after that. I'd also like to bring up the adoption conversation with Layla after the holidays. She seemed really happy when we first talked about it. Thanks again everyone for your kind words and advice. Your insights have helped me better manage the situation. I can understand that I'm still a little immature, but I feel that this experience has helped me grow a little more and see the issue from other points of view. All the best for you, guys. Comments where Op has replied. Commenter 1. Op, I would send a polite message to Robert as a courtesy to thank him for his kindness and consideration over the years. Then wish him best of luck, implying a permanent goodbye. Oop, I thought about it, but I don't have his number. We never felt the need to stay in touch as our interactions were mostly casual chit-chat and good morning/evening/goodbye. I don't have Kira's number either, so I think Robert and I already said goodbye for good the last time I left my mother's house. Commenter 2. Do you have any sort of relationship with your birth giver's family, and if so, what did they think about your birth giver's treatment of you? I think you handled this situation perfectly, far more maturely than your egg donor. Oop, I don't really have much contact with my mother's family. They are just 3 people, my grandmother, my aunt, and my uncle. My uncle lives a few hours away from here with his family, and I've seen him very few times during the holidays I spent with my mother, and our interactions were very brief and distant. With my aunt and my grandmother I only have a cordial relationship. We exchange holiday greetings by text. A few times they've sent me gifts for my birthday, always money loaded onto my father's card, but that's it. Even the few times I've met them we had casual conversations about how each other's lives were going, but nothing more. In fact, I haven't invited any of them to my 18th and they haven't texted me anything since the drama with my mother happened, so I think they just don't care that much. Commenter 3, you handled this situation with maturity and clarity, setting firm boundaries. Layla seems like an amazing support in your life, wishing you the best moving forward. Next story, Dad said he won't come to my wedding unless I invite his wife who's been mean to me for 20 years, so I told him fine and had the perfect wedding without him. For some backstory, I, F24, have a rough relationship with my dad's, M43, wife, Ellie, F41. They got together in 2006, married in 2011, and have had 2 children since then. Ellie has never liked me. I was introduced to her when I was 7 and things were instantly sour. She was mean, snarky and had no interest in me whatsoever. Now, as an adult, I can tolerate her behavior, which has gotten significantly worse as I've grown up and began to talk back. The issue lies with the fact that my dad has always allowed it. I'm a grown woman and can handle myself now, as I've been doing for years, but when I was a child, he had nothing to say about her borderline abusive behavior and will find ways to change the subject/excuse it whenever it's brought up. This has significantly damaged our relationship, and we're low contact as of now. So, I'm getting married in November this year to James, M25. We've been together for 11 years. Ellie is insistent that she will be there. She will not. I have made this clear since we got engaged in November 2023. My dad is invited, but I made it plainly clear last year that she wasn't welcome as a result of her behavior, attitude, and treatment of the both of us. It's worth mentioning here that James also doesn't want E present as she is discriminatory. James is trans, FTM, and Ellie will dead name him, make comments about it all, and is overall hateful. He is also defensive of me given that he has been with me for the majority of Ellie's treatment. So, my dad met with me last week and told me that if Ellie wasn't present at my wedding, he wouldn't be either. I honestly expected something like this to happen, so I said that it was fine. He was confused and asked me to elaborate, so I explained that he didn't have to attend, but it meant that I would never speak to him again, that I had dealt with him choosing Ellie over me for almost 20 years and that my wedding, of his first and only daughter, being a subject of debate was the final straw. He said nothing for a moment afterwards and then got up and left. Ellie has been blowing up my phone with explicit texts, but it's been radio silence from my dad since our chat. As I said, I've dealt with Ellie's treatment, and by extension, my dad's silence for almost 2 decades. My wedding feels like a good place to finally end this all, to start over. I don't see a way to fix this, or our relationship, as long as he's with Ellie. Ida for telling my dad I don't care if he's present at my wedding. Edit, just to say thank you so much for the responses. I didn't expect this at all. All of the advice, guidance, and kind words are amazing. I'm struggling to respond to everybody, but just know I'm reading every comment. Also, thank you for all the well wishes for the wedding. Thank you, truly. Comments where Op has replied, commenter, NTA there's been no effort of apology or reconciliation. It's strange that Ellie would even want to be at the wedding anyway. Oop, she can't handle that my dad will be somewhere she isn't. It's a habit of hers, to take him away from my special events. To another commenter, she doesn't truly want to be there, she just doesn't like that I told her no, and that my dad had an invitation so he would be where she wasn't. She has a habit of breaking boundaries and finding ways to get under my skin, so her being at my wedding after I objected would have been another I had my way and you had to suck it up moment for her. That's why I'm finally putting my foot down, no matter what it takes, amidst other reasons. Commenter, what do both Ellie and your dad have to say in regards to the reasons for you choosing not to invite Ellie because of her abusive treatment towards you? Oop, Ellie is making a song and a dance of it. She knows she's vile towards me but will deny it to people we don't know and claim we have a strained relationship. She's told me I'm attempting to divide her and my dad by saying one can attend but the other can't and giving my dad ultimatums to hurt him. My dad has never been able to acknowledge her treatment and will find ways to change the subject/excuse it, so he's claiming that by denying Ellie a place at my wedding, I'm starting unnecessary drama and causing a scene. I've reiterated that I don't want her there because of, see above, but he's saying that I'm only doing this to get back at him. Commenter, so has your dad ever directly acknowledged anything you've pointed out about her behavior towards you? When you confront Ellie directly, does she acknowledge what you have to say about her behavior? If they try to smear you online, I say put them on blast and publicly list what she's done. Maybe threaten them with that if they continue. Oop, to a degree. I have said the word she treats me like shit to him and he has said you're blowing it out of proportion. My take is that he knows exactly what she says and does. He's been present for most of her behavior, but he dumbs it down out loud for her sake, to defend her, if that makes sense. He's a coward, I established that long ago. Update, November 12, 2024. Firstly, thank you all so very much. The overwhelming amount of advice, support, feedback and kind words meant more than you could ever know. So, my wedding was just over a week ago, and it was absolutely perfect. It was me and James surrounded by the people we love and the ones who love us most. Neither my dad or Ellie were there. Following our last talk where I told him I didn't care if he was present, it was complete silence from him for just over a month. I took my dad's silence as his mind made up, and I actually felt at ease with it, which was another huge wake-up call. He finally messaged me in October and asked to talk over the phone. I told James and he said to do it and use the opportunity to make my final choice on the matter, and set it in stone. So we spoke. He asked that I allow Ellie at the wedding. I said no. He said that he wouldn't come if she wasn't there. I said I didn't care. We went back and forth for a little bit, mostly just repeating ourselves, until he basically said, is this really the hill you want to die on? I said yes, told him that he had a week to give me a simple yes or no as to whether he would be there, and hung up. He messaged me a couple of days later with a long paragraph about how I was giving him ultimatums, making him choose, holding on to the past, petty and disrespectful, etc. and something snapped. I said that he had more than enough chances to attempt to make things right but that I was done, and blocked him. On the day of my wedding, I tried not to think about it and it was honestly easier than I thought, to the point I didn't realize he wasn't there until midway through the ceremony. I was hearing from mutual friends and family that my dad has been pretty silent on the whole thing. Other members of my family/close friends were present at the wedding and asked why my dad wasn't there, and I just told them it was a story for another day, not something I wanted to get into on my wedding. Honestly, this entire situation is just draining. I've known for a long time that it would end in flames at some point or another, and I'm not entirely sure why I held out that little bit of hope for so long. I genuinely feel at peace for the first time in years, and relieved that I no longer have to deal with him or Ellie. I'm in bed with my now husband writing this post, and feeling better than ever. I've realized I gave him too much of my time and patience when he didn't deserve it. This toxic chapter of my life is done. I'm more in love with my childhood sweetheart than I thought was possible and can't stop grinning at the fact I get to call him my husband. Again, thank you so very much for the responses. You're all a lot wiser than I am. Have a great day, everyone. Additional info, Oop clarifies, her half-siblings, they're both young, under 10. I was out of the house as much as I could as they were growing up and left as soon as I turned 18, so I can't imagine they have much recollection of me being about.